This is currently, sorry about the faff. Sit up nice and tall. Close the eyes. Allow yourself to get comfortable in your seat. Allow the hands to rest wherever they land, and just landing into your body. Taking those deeper breaths in through the nose and maybe out through the mouth. Finding the spaciousness and the simplicity in this moment. And we're going to be focusing specifically this afternoon on the connection with the ground. So as you sit here in our first seat, in our first pose, what parts of the body are touching the floor? And what parts of the body are weighted, working with gravity to keep you stable? Continuing with that breath in through the nose, expanding down right into the lower half of the abdomen. And once again, maybe exhaling out of an open mouth, physically releasing the breath, but also visualizing energetically releasing of your tension. Once again, focusing on this abdominal, on this lower abdominal ballooning. And to be able to take a full breath, we really need to expand right down into the lower half of the belly. And something that society doesn't really encourage us to do. So in the safety and the comfort of your own home right now, with your eyes closed, see if you can make your belly as big as possible as you breathe right down into the pelvis. And what happens when we start doing this is we really start to work with the diaphragm, and the diaphragm is able to drop right the way down to allow yourself to get the full capacity of your breath. Otherwise, if you're holding the abdominals in, then it's stopping the diaphragm from dropping, and the breath stays really high up in the chest. And this is where we breathe from when we're in a place of anxiety or fight and flight or kind of fear-based. So giving your body now the permission and the acceptance almost, and the ability to breathe fully right now. So from here, gently flickering the eyes open, I'm just going to show you this exercise just to begin with so that we can get familiar with it. So commonly when I tell us to kind of cactus our arms, I'm telling you we kind of squeeze our shoulder blades together and the shoulders come together like this, don't we? But for today, we're focusing on the protraction of the shoulders. So your elbows are almost kind of reaching outwards, and you're getting that spread across the back of the shoulder blades rather than a contraction. Okay, so when I say cactus the arms today, I really want you to focus on the extension out and keeping the broadness of the back of the chest. Okay, so bringing the arms up as you cactus, and then take a moment here just with energize out through the fingers. And once again, this is quite easy to kind of like just sit here, nice little cactus arms, but I really want you to be focusing on what is going on through the arms, the wrists, the fingers. And this practice is going to be quite subtle, but we're really going to start to feel the warmth build, obviously with the natural warmth in our spaces at the moment. So I really want you to just sit here as you are, beautiful big arms. And then keeping the palms active, you're simply going to drop the hands down towards the floor, keeping your elbows in line with your shoulders, and it will come on quite quickly. You're going to feel the stretch through the front of the shoulders and the back of the triceps. Keep the arms active as you take the hands now back behind you, almost like you're in like handcuffs here. And once again, rather than squeezing the shoulder blades together, I want you to keep that broadening of the back of the chest as the elbows draw outwards. And then kind of magnetize your hands away from your bum as if you're trying to lift the hands as far away from the back of your back as possible. And then release the hands. You're going to cactus the arms once again, bringing the fingers up and then T shape or kind of, not T shape, like Y shape or kind of V shape your arms up towards the ceiling, keeping the protraction of the shoulders. And then bend the elbows, the hands come to the back of your head this time. Same thing, keeping the shoulders broad, keeping the elbows rising, keep the lower ribs in, and keeping the hands as far away from your head as possible. So once again, it's super easy to kind of just stick your bum out here. So I want you to think about the lower ribs coming in towards the back body. And then once again, straighten up, T shape, oh, why do I keep saying T? Y shape out through your arms, cactus the arms open, really energize through those elbows, and then dropping the hands down in the direction with the elbows. Opposite hand comes back behind you now, bringing the hands together, and then magnetize the hands away from your lower back. Chest stays really, really open. You should really starting to be feeling warm right now. And then once again, release, super, super slowly, like you're going through treacle. Your arms are going to lift up, all the way back up towards the sky, keeping the back of the chest really spread here. Take a nice big breath in, and then release. Whew, okay, so remembering those little cues and those little sections as we come back into that kind of movement later on in the practice. But from here, we're just going to come forwards onto all fours. So keeping your block relatively close by, maybe at the top of your mat. Hands come onto the floor, and then I want you to gently grip the mat with your fingertips. And as you do that, you're kind of pulling your fingers back towards the bridge of your hand. So almost you create like a little rainbow shape up through the fingers. So what this is doing is it's bringing a lot more weight into the fingertips, so you're bringing the weight out of your wrists. Pushing up through the shoulders, and we're just going to start with some circular movements just to bring a little bit of weight bearing into the wrists. And as we did a couple of weeks ago, I want you to just shift the weight from foot to knee to shin, around in circles as you find the connection with the floor. And then go in the opposite direction with those circles. Once again, gripping into the mat, drawing the fingertips and the nail beds back towards the wrists. And then we're going to tuck our toes under, making sure the back of the chest is really active. You're going to hover the knees a couple of inches away from the floor. Now, pushing up out of the palms, take a big breath in. Exhale, draw your bum back towards the back of the room as your chest draws towards your thighs, and then begin to straighten your legs. Now, I want your knees to stay nice and bent here, and then beginning to straighten the legs, lift your heels as high away from the floor as you can, so we're not even trying to get into the hamstrings. Draw the chest back towards the thighs, and you're going to get a big stretch through the shoulders. Now, staying up onto the balls of the feet, you're going to start to roll the shoulders forwards until they come over the wrists. Simultaneously, bend your knees and hover the knees back away from the ground, like where we just started. Don't touch the floor, draw your bum back, straighten the legs, heels lift, bum rises to the sky. Draw chest back towards your thighs, keep the chin tucked to the chest, roll forwards. Shoulders come over the wrists, slowly bend the knees, hover away from the ground before once again drawing back. Do a couple more of these, coming forwards, rolling shoulders over wrists, bend the knees. The legs should be really warming up. Straighten, lift. And as you start to move through these movements, thinking less about kind of isolating the individual shapes and more about the fluidity of connecting everything together. You're going to do one more, breathing in, rolling forwards. And as you lower your knees down towards the floor this time, untuck your toes and draw your bum back towards your heels. Child's pose. Little sways here just from side to side, just to take a moment to breathe. Forehead to the floor, maybe you're dropping opposite ears down towards the mat. And once again, finding the connection with the ground. Where is the seat in this pose? And then lift the gaze, bring yourself back up onto all fours. Palms anchor down towards the floor, you're going to retuck the toes, push into the palms to lift your knees. Now, as children, when we first start moving, we traditionally start crawling, don't we? And this is a move that we kind of forget how to do as we become older. So keep your knees as close towards the floor as you can as you step your right foot back and your left hand back. Now, this is where my coordination really isn't in my favour. You're going to step your left foot back and your right hand back until you're kind of walking yourself off your mat. Opposites, walk back, and I want you to keep your hips in line with your shoulders. So you're just a couple of inches away from the ground, and then walking yourself back forwards. Personally, for me, this is a lot easier to walk forwards. And I want you to really be feeling your core, trying to move the hands and the feet at the same time. Once again, it's warming up, keeping really, really active, and try and slow it down. If you're finding this easy, slow it down. And then slowly walking yourself all the way back in towards the center of the mat. Knees lower back down towards the floor, point the toes, bum back towards your heels, and take a breath. Once again, an observation breath. Feeling the warmth growing in through the body. Noticing how you can calm yourself using that big ballooning of the lower belly. And then lift the gaze. Bring yourself back up onto all fours, retucking your toes to come into your full and normal downward facing dog as we just paddle the heels down towards the floor, straightening out the legs. Pushing gently up out of those hands. And then lift the gaze towards the fingers, beginning to walk or step the feet forwards towards the hands. You're going to locate your brick or your book or your block or whatever you've got, and then place it in between your thighs. And then you're going to bend your knees and come into a chair pose. Arms lift up towards the ceiling. Now squeeze your block with your inner thighs. Get yourself just a little bit lower. Now palms rotate towards the front of the room as you cactus the arms open. Elbows broad, remember, palms active. And then rotate the fingers down towards the floor. Keep the elbows in line with the shoulders. Bring the hands back behind you. Palms touch, and then magnetize your hands away from your bum, but without squeezing the shoulder blades together. Sit yourself a little bit lower, release your hands. Rotate the fingers up, and extending the arms up towards the ceiling. Bend the elbows, hands come towards the back of the neck. Squeeze the block, bend the knees, elbows up, shoulders broad. And then once again extend. We're going to do this one more time. I know the legs are on fire. Cactus the arms open. Rotate down, keeping everything active. Opposite hand comes back behind you. Magnetize them away from you. Squeeze the block. Release the hands. Rotate fingers up. Last one. Straighten up. Straighten the legs. Release the hands. Pop the block just towards the front of the mat. And take a moment, maybe with the hands into the centre of the chest, and maybe the hands release back down next to the hips. Close the eyes if you don't feel dizzy. And noticing the front body and the back body in relation. The warmth that you've just built up through the fronts of the thighs. The warmth through the shoulders. And then breathing in, lift and lengthen up through the fingers, look towards the thumbs. Dive down through the midline, bend the knees. If you need, release the fingers down towards the floor. Breathing in, half lift. Hands come to rest onto your shins or onto the floor. Draw the heads of the shoulders back. Lower belly draws in. Bend the knees if you need to. Fold yourself forwards. From here, we're going to step the right foot long down the mat. Lower the back knee down towards the floor and climb yourself up into your low lunge. So I'm just going to rearrange my hair clip so it's not everywhere. And once you're in your low lunge, release or take hold of your block. And you're going to place the block in between your hands. Now squeeze the block with your hands as you start to feel the shoulders really switching on. Draw your tailbone down so you feel your right glute switching on, and then sink a little bit deeper into this front knee. Maybe looking up just towards the space in between the ceiling and the top of your wall. And once again, find the floor. Notice the ground underneath you. And noticing if you're able to get a little bit more connection with the tops of those the left foot. Arms nice and straight towards the top corner of the room. Nice. Nice big breath in. And then dropping the block down towards the floor, bringing the right hand onto the inside edge of the thigh. Left arm grows tall towards the ceiling. You can stay here, or you can tuck the back toe as the back knee lifts. Take a nice big breath in. Now keep the hand high as you exhale, lower the gaze back down to the floor, and then looking down towards your right foot. Think about your thigh lifting away from the ground, keeping your left arm as high as you can up towards the ceiling. And then lower the gaze, hands come back down towards the floor. Now you're going to walk yourself to the long end of your mat, wide-legged forward bend. You're going to walk your feet ever so slightly further back. Make sure your hands are underneath your shoulders. Now bend your knees considerably here so that your arms are straight and your shoulders are over your wrists. So it can be it's quite a kind of a wide goddess pose, or like a really nice wide-legged forward bend. And we're going to find almost some little push-ups from here. So you're going to bend your elbows, drop your chest down towards the floor. The knees can stay as bent as you like, and then push back up but using the arms. Lower yourself down slowly, pushing back up. Lift the pelvic floor, lowering down and push. Once again, you're using your arms, 2 more, pushing back up, and then last one, all the way down, all the way back up. Pop the gaze back to the front of the mat, twizzling onto the tippy toes as you walk yourself forwards. The back knee lowers, and then we're going to walk the left foot ever so slightly wider towards the outer edge of the mat. Now keep your block or your book quite close by. It's going to come into a lizard pose from here, so I want you to find the hands, and then keeping this back knee in line with your back hip. So it's quite easy for us to kind of come forwards and get the hamstring stretch. But I'd like you just for today to see if you can keep this line. And then kind of bend your elbows, kind of like little chaturanga arms, as if you're lowering yourself down towards the mat. You might not go so far, but it's pretty intense. So also another big thing I want you to focus on is keeping your left knee hugging in towards the midline. So it's quite easy for us to drop the knee out towards the side and it to feel a little bit easier. But we're focusing more on the stability here rather than just our flexibility. Now, if this is super intense, then I'd like you to stay. Or with the block close by, you can pop your right elbow maybe down onto the block. And I can see in my own camera that my hips are already wanting to come forward. So see if you can continue to draw your bum back. Maybe that's where you stay. And then once again, staying here or pressing back into the hands, stand yourself back up onto your palms. You're going to bend your back knee, draw your heel in towards your bum. And then extend your left arm away from you. Big breath in, cartwheel the arm all the way back up and behind you. Maybe it hovers in space towards about 9 o'clock. Or maybe, if you're lucky, you can see if you can find your foot. See if you can keep that left knee hugging in towards the midline. Now options, staying here, or maybe it's accessible, maybe it's not, it doesn't matter. You can lower your right elbow down onto the block. Now there's a lot going on right now. So see if you're able to find the awareness, once again, into the lower belly. Breathing right down into the bottom, using that diaphragm. And then if your elbow is down, I'd like you to bring yourself back up onto your hand. Wherever you are now, you're going to bring your hand onto the inside edge of your foot. If you haven't got your hand, don't worry. You're going to drop your left shoulder down towards the floor. And then dropping the heart down towards the mat, you're going to get this lovely elongation through the right quadricep. Once again, if you haven't got the foot, don't worry. The hand can just stay back behind you. Palm facing in towards the midline. And you're using that power of the hamstring to draw your foot back towards you. And then just gently release the foot, place it back down towards the ground. The hands come down towards the mat. Slide the block away from you. You're going to stick your left knee to your left tricep. Tuck the back toe, lift the back knee. We're going to come back into a 3-legged dog from here, but I'd like you to see if you can take a little bit of flight time by lifting your left foot away from the mat. See if you can keep connection with your left elbow just for a second before finding a 3-legged dog. Left foot rises to the sky. And then slowly placing that foot back down towards the floor. Take a moment just to paddle out through the legs. And then lift the gaze towards the top of the mat. You're going to walk or step the feet forwards towards the hands. Take the feet maybe just a smidgen wider as you fold over the legs, find opposite elbows. Shake out through the head, yes and no. And then heel toeing the feet together, so there's probably about an inch or so in between them. Pardon me. And then bend the knees, chair pose. Now, as we did at the beginning of the practice, I want you to imagine that block is in between your thighs. So as I find that real inner thigh activation. And then we're going to bring our hands into prayer at the center of the chest. There should be a little space in between your feet, but between your knees, but not too much, as we're going to take our left elbow in between our knees to find the inside edge of your left knee. Take a big breath in. Exhale, push the palms together to twist and lever yourself around. Now look back towards your knees. Notice if they've gone on a little wander. I want your knees to stay in line, and that makes sure that your hips are staying in line, so that the twist is coming from your spine and not your hips. And then we're going to bring yourself back towards the center. Breathe in. Same thing, other side. Right elbow comes onto the inside edge of right thigh. Breathing in to lengthen the spine. Exhale to twist your left rib cage around towards the side. Notice the breath. Noticing what this twist is doing to the breath. Are you able to still breathe down right into the lower belly? And then lower the gaze, bring yourself back towards the center. You're going to push down through the feet, breathe in, arms rise to the sky, look towards the thumbs. Exhale, forward bend over the legs. Hands come to the floor. You're going to lift your right leg as high away from the ground as you can to come into a standing split. It doesn't matter how high the leg is, but you can softly bend into your left knee, or the grounded knee, and then walk the fingers towards the outer edge of your mat. Breathing in, lift and lengthen the spine. Exhale, folding forwards. And we're going to find a little curtsy from here. So you're going to bend both knees. Pop your knees, shin and toes down to the outside edge of your ankle. And then challenge, no fingers. You're going to lower your bum down to the floor. Now, if you get here and you feel like your bum isn't securely onto the ground, I'd like you to straighten out through the grounded leg. Apart from that, your left hand comes back behind you, in line with your left sit bone, and the opposite arm grows tall towards the sky. On the exhalation, you're going to twist, emptying the belly of breath to allow for the twist to happen. If you feel happy to here, close the eyes. And once again, finding the seat. Notice the parts of the body that are touching the floor. Press gently down through the ball of your left foot. Feel your sit bones to the ground. And then gently de-rotate as your right hand comes back behind you, or sorry, back probably in front of you, I should say. Straighten your grounded leg if you haven't done already. And then push down to lift up into a supported side plank. And you've got an option to stay here, or if you'd like to, you can take a full side plank, taking the feet together towards the back of the mat. Maybe take a couple of shuffles there, that's absolutely fine. If you'd like a little bit more of a challenge still, you maybe start to lift your top leg, maybe just for a second, maybe just a centimetre away from the floor. Take a nice big breath. And then slowly with control, you're going to lower your bum towards the ground, facing forwards. Breathing in, arms grow tall. Maybe just shuffle around to make sure your bum is secure to the floor. And then folding forwards into our forward bend. Release the head. Close the eyes if you feel happy to. And once again, connecting with every single breath. Noticing how it's moving through you. See if you can broaden the collarbones and draw the chest forwards rather than thinking about getting low. And then just for the last few moments, I want you just to relax your feet. Relax your head and let your body kind of drape or droop over your thighs. And slowly, slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, walk yourself back up. And you crisscross your ankles, use a bit of momentum, rock yourself forwards and step back, downward facing dog. Give the head out a little shake. And then lift the gaze towards the fingers, beginning to walk or step the feet forwards towards the hands. Making sure that space or tiny little spaces in between the feet. Squeeze the inner thighs, chair pose, sit down. Hands come to the centre of the chest, half twist once again, so the left elbow comes in between the knees, breathe in. Squeeze the thighs together, exhale, push into that elbow to twist. Think about the lower belly drawing back, pelvic floor lifting. And then lower the gaze, bring yourself back to the centre, twist the opposite direction. Breathing in to lengthen and breathing out to twist. And then lower the gaze, bring yourself back towards the centre, drape the fingers down, maybe just widen the feet slightly, probably feel a little bit nicer, maybe find the elbows, maybe just roll a ball out through the wrists, shake the head. At this point my glasses fall off. And then we're going to step the left foot long down the mat, lowering the back knee. Climb yourself up into your low lunge. Locate your block. Take the block out in front of you and then lift it up so it's once again kind of in line with your ceiling and your wall. Squeeze the block, slight bend into the elbows and then sinking down into that front knee, but without squashing anything that's going on through this right hip. Think about your front heel pulling backwards. You're going to feel the back of this right hamstring and the calf. And your back knee pulling forwards, you're going to feel your left glute. Push, push, push the palms, take a big breath. And then slowly release the block, taking your hand onto the inside edge of the thigh. Right arm grows tall to the ceiling, easy twist. Now as we come into this easy twist, I want you to notice what's going on through this right knee. It wants to naturally fall out, doesn't it? So I want you to see if you can get that foundation. Knee facing forwards in line with the toes. You can stay or tuck the back toe. Back knee lifts. Finding this lovely long straight line all the way from the ground, all the way up towards the ceiling. You can take the hand back behind you if you'd like to, coming onto the back hip. And then look back down towards the floor. As you drop that right shoulder down, look down towards the back toes and keeping that right thigh lifted, the front knee hugging in towards the midline. Slight bend into that left elbow, that's absolutely fine. And then cartwheel that arm back down towards the floor. Once again, walk yourself to the long end of your mat, wide-legged forward bend. Going to find those little push-ups once again. So walk the feet back, walk the hands forwards. Shoulders are over the wrists, breathe in to lengthen. Exhale, bending into the elbows, drop the heart down. Pushing up, so by bending the knees and bend the elbows, you're allowing a lot more weight to be into the hands or the arms and the shoulders rather than just being supported by the legs. 2 more. Finding the stability, making sure you're gripping the mat gently with the fingers to bring the weight out of the wrists. And then gently walking yourself back towards the front of the mat, twizzling onto the tippy toes to face forwards. The back knee lowers and walk the foot to the outer edge of your hand. Keep your block close by, you might need it in a second. And we're just going to start with some little sways, maybe a little bit of buoyancy here. And every time you move, I want you to notice what's going on through this front knee. And then I'm noticing if your back hip is staying in line with the back knee. And once again, you can stay, just finding this little bit of buoyancy, a little bit of kind of lubrication as you may find some little circles, or if it works, Dropping that left elbow maybe down onto the block. You can take the block or a book as high as you like. It doesn't have to be all the way down. Noticing once again if the shape becomes sacrificed. And it's really interesting finding poses that we might be able to find deeper, but we're intentionally kind of backing off to make it, to find more of stability. And then you once again stay here, or hands can walk themselves back up. Bend your back knee so the heel is drawing in towards your bum, using that hamstring, extend right arm away. Big breath, arm windmills up. Try not to allow the front knee to drop out as you swing the hand towards 3 o'clock. Stay there, that's absolutely fine. If it works, find your toes. So a lot of left hip flexor here, a lot of left quadricep. And then once again you can stay, or the elbow maybe you can lower down if it's there. If it's not, don't worry. Allow yourself to smile. Allow yourself to absorb everything that you're feeling. Rather than pushing against it, you're able to back off and it be more of a sensory experience rather than a push. And then if you've got your foot, come onto the inside edge of your foot. If you haven't got your foot, palm rotates down. And then drop that right shoulder down towards the floor. Maybe once again, looking down towards the back knee. If you've got your foot, then you're lengthening out through the front of that left quadricep. And then slowly releasing and releasing the hands all the way back down towards the floor. I'm going to stick, right knee to right shoulder, back knee lifts. I'm going to come back into that three-legged dog. So see if you can find a little bit of flight time, just for a second. And then three-legged dog, foot rises to the sky. Place the foot back down towards the ground. Take a moment here, maybe popping the knees to the ground into your child's pose if you prefer to. And then lift the gaze towards the fingers, walking or stepping the feet forwards towards the hands. Forward bend over the knees, sway. And then heel toeing the feet once again together. Bend the knees, chair pose. Now this time we're going to take the full twist. So you bring your hands to the center of the chest and take our left elbow to the outside edge of your knee. Now, by all means, help it with your right thumb, with your right hand. The better your connection now, the better your foundation will be. Now challenge. See if you can keep this knee connected to your elbow as you shift the weight into your right foot. And then slowly, slowly teeter or maybe float the back foot back long down the mat. Coming into a twisted lunge position. Now, having faith in your legs, if you need to reconnect your connection, open your arms up and down, use the legs as you slowly, with as much control as you can, lift yourself up into a twisted high lunge. So the chest stays rotated towards the side of the room. So you're really using your legs there. Back hand now comes back behind you onto your back hip. Now by all means help it, shuffle it around until it's onto the left hip. Top arm grows tall towards the sky. Breathe in, and then ever so slightly lean back. So again, there's an opening through the left side of the body. There's a real stability for the legs here. Keep your back thigh lifting away. And then we're going to come out the same way we came in. So open the arms back out. Bring the hands back towards the center of the chest into your twist as you allow your elbow to come back onto your thigh. Help it, shuffle it. Keep that connection for as long as you can. Shift the weight forwards. Lift the back foot as you step the foot to the top of the mat, trying to keep the twist. Nice, bring yourself back towards the center. Straighten the legs, straighten the arms. And folding forwards, release the fingers to the ground. Step the right foot long down the mat. Your back foot lowers, so you're coming into a warrior 2 feet. The hands come onto the inside edge of the thigh. And then use the legs once again to cartwheel up, warrior 2. Take a moment just to settle, maybe rotate up through the hands and the wrists. And then once again, the back hand is going to come back behind you. Help it, once again, if you need, to come onto that little shelf of your hip, or maybe of your thigh. Top arm once again grows tall to the ceiling. Big inhale to lengthen. Then look down towards your back foot. So you exhale, you're almost kind of looking over a balcony down towards the floor. So it's not a big movement, but you're keeping the length through the right side of the body as well. Keep the bend into the front knee. Power through the legs, unravel, warrior 2. And then the hands cartwheel back down towards the floor, twizzle onto the back tippy toes. Take a little spring if you need to. Step left foot to the top of your mat. The left foot rises high towards the sky to come into your standing split. You can stay here, or you can walk the fingers towards the outer edge of your mat. Keeping a nice little bend to that right knee, that's absolutely fine. Heavy head. And then taking our curtsy from here, so you're going to bend both knees, pop your knee, shin and toes down to the floor. Challenge no fingers. Use your control to lower your bum back down to the ground. Get yourself happy. If you need to, straighten the bottom leg. Right hand in line with your right sit bone. Breathe in. And breathe out. Now taking a moment to settle in, to ease in. And this continuous movement continues to happen. These ebbs and these flows of going deeper into the pose and backing off. And it's exactly the same every time to what's going on in the cycle of movements in your daily life. And then we're going to de-rotate, taking the back hand back behind you onto the floor. Straighten the bottom leg if you haven't done already. Push down, lift up into your supported side plank. Once again, you can stay here, that's absolutely fine. Take the back foot back in for a little bit more of a challenge. Or last challenge, make sure you're happy and stable as you lift the top foot maybe for a second, maybe for a centimetre away from the floor. And then with control, lower your bum back down to the ground facing forwards. Ooh, remove the flesh from underneath your bum. Breathing in. And then let it all go. Keeping the toes slightly active just for the first half of the fold. Think about the back of the chest lifting rather than dropping. If your hands maybe need to slide themselves ever so slightly further back, do that, just to feel the opening of the chest. And then walk yourself back up, crisscrossing your legs, use a bit of momentum, come forwards and step back, downward dog. Gazing forwards, walking, stepping, hopping maybe to the top of the mat, forward bend. Bend the knees, chair pose, sit yourself down. Hands come to the center of the chest. We're going to find that full twist on the other side. So take the right elbow to the outside edge of left knee, helping it as much as you need to get that good foundation. And then shifting the weight into the left foot, right toes start to hover. You can take a couple of steps back, or if it's there, you can float the toes back to the back of the mat. Make sure you're using the legs, open your arms, and as you do this, fluidly start to stand up into a twisted high lunge. Arms reach forwards and backwards, making sure your shoulders are over your hips. Back hand comes back behind you onto back hip. Top arm grows tall to the sky, breathe in. Exhale, lean ever so slightly further back. Keeping the tailbone drawn down, the right sit bone active. Once again, it's not a very big movement, but you should really feel it. And then coming out the same way we came in, unravel into our twisted high lunge. Hands come back to the center, elbow comes onto the thigh, help it if you need to. Now knowing where we're going, have a little bit more faith in that front foot. Bring the weight out of the back toes as you slowly step the foot forwards. Bring yourself back towards your chair, breathe in, breathe out, fold forwards. Taking the last little moment just to shake out through the head. Before bending the knees, lower your bum down onto your heels. And then bend your knees to lower yourself down onto the mat. And to bend lower, all the way down onto the floor. And draw the knees in towards your chest. Take a little moment just to rock from side to side here. And then keeping hold of the right knee, you're going to extend your left leg long down the mat. You can stay with the knee bent, or if it works, you can straighten the leg up towards the ceiling. Take the hands around the back of the thigh, or maybe the front, or back of the calf. Point and flex. See if you can keep the connection with the shoulder blades to the floor. I'm going to come into a half happy baby from here, so come onto the inside edge of your thigh to take the sole of your foot with your hand. Parallel your foot off with the ceiling as the knee draws towards the outer edge of the shoulder. Re-straighten that leg, release the foot down towards the floor. Left foot rises to the sky, interlace the fingers around the shin. You can stay or you can straighten. Pointing and flexing, becoming a bit more curious about the stretch and how it feels. And then half happy baby, come onto the inside of the thigh. Knee draws towards the outer edge of the shoulder. And then releasing, bring the knees back into your chest. Find the hands underneath the backs of the knees. We're going to rock forwards and backwards through the spine. And all the way back up into a seat. Crisscross the ankles, use that little bit of momentum. Step back, downward dog. And looking towards the fingers, walking, stepping, taking that hop if you would like to. Forward bend. You're going to step the left foot long down the mat, making sure that the back foot then flattens, coming onto the inside edge of the foot and windmill up, warrior two. Committing to this front knee, as the back hand comes back behind you onto the hip, help it, shuffle it. Top arm grows tall to the ceiling. Lift, breathe in, tailbone draws down, look over towards the back foot and then creeping backwards to look down towards the floor. Commit once again to that front knee and relax the head. And then strong arms, bring yourself back, warrior two. Hands cartwheel all the way back down towards the floor. Twizzle onto the back tippy toes, back knee lowers, and come into a child's pose. And from your child's pose, you're going to lower yourself down onto your belly. So walking yourself forwards, bending your elbows and lower yourself down onto your front. Relax the arms back behind you. Relax the hands to the floor. Now, option to stay here for your final relaxation. This is a really, really beneficial place for our nervous system. Or if you prefer to, roll yourself over onto your back for a more traditional Shavasana. Wherever you are, sink. Notice the breath ballooning down into the lower belly. Heavy and still, connecting with the floor, connecting with what is here. And if you are on your belly, then changing the head towards the opposite side. Be fully absorbed with what is being presented to you right now. The sounds around you, the warmth on your skin, the sounds in your space. And then slowly push yourself back into a child's pose before sitting yourself back up. Hands rest onto the knees. Take a moment here just to pause before bringing the hands together at the centre of the chest to complete our practice. As always, thank you so much. Namaste.